Hi guys, Adam from Ecowise. Here's beautiful woodland plant here. In English it's called lesser periwinkle, which is a kind of cool name. And it's called lesser periwinkle because there's also a greater periwinkle. And in Latin it's called vincum minore, and the greater periwinkle is called vincum majore. And it's a plant that does really well in full shade like this. It's in the woods on the understory. It has these beautiful, beautiful coloured flowers. And if people have taken this and planted it in gardens, you find it in quite a lot of gardens. It's a good ground cover plant that can tolerate dense shade. And I just love the way that the flowers look like they're spinning. They're 5-leaf petals, but they kind of look like propellers or something. The way that they're shaped somehow has a feeling of motion to it. And I always think of what kind of story you could have to why the flower has these beautiful coloured, this plant has these beautiful coloured flowers at this time of year, with this kind of a look like they're kind of spinning or something. You could come up with all kinds of stories and make up all kinds of myths and legends about why it has these flowers and what it means, and I just think they're beautiful. I love them. Look at the meadow now. This is the same meadow we filmed about 10 days ago. But look at it now, it's just a riot of colour now. Look, there's this clary sage, scabious, ox-eye daisy, some more buttercups, this yellow rattle. I mean, just look at it, it's just beautiful. And this biodiversity relates to the fact that people manage it. People do this. If people left this alone, it would revert through secondary succession and become a woodland, which would be good for things that live in woodland, absolutely. But this kind of habitat, with some of the orchids further up there, like you saw earlier, this results from the fact that people live here and manage it. So, trying to conserve and take care of our planet and the habitats and the wild animals and the wild plants, and also the ecosystems that we rely on for our food and for our air and for our inspiration, etc., etc. It doesn't just have to be wild places that we just completely leave alone. It's also to do with the way we live and the way that we interact with the world. For instance, the biggest problems facing us at the moment aren't things that other people are doing necessarily. It's forces in all of us, like, let's say, greed, selfishness. Like if somebody who managed this field was greedy, they'd because remember what they're doing here is they're cutting this field probably 2, perhaps 3 times a year. That's the traditional way. And what they do is they dry the cut grass and the cut flowers, and then they turn it into hay that they feed to the animals in the winter, the cows in this area especially. That's what they're doing. Now if they were greedy, maybe they would say, well, if I cut it 4 or 5 times a year, maybe I can get more, so then I can have more cows and I can have more milk, or I can sell more cows, or whatever it is, I'll get more. But if you cut it more than that, you're going to destroy this delicate balance. Or, like's happened in many countries, because farmers have been encouraged to do this, and are still being encouraged to do it, they say, let's use some chemical fertilizers, and then we'll get even more production and more growth, and then we can cut it 4 or 5 times a year. But when that happens, you'll lose all of these flowers and all of the insects. It's full of butterflies and stuff coming. You can't see, but they're all around us. Crickets, fireflies are about to come out. All of that will be lost if you add chemical fertilizers. So greed and selfishness, right? Like, you know, I want to have more than my neighbor because then I'll be able to flood the market with my product. Greed and selfishness. What other problems? Well, the other kind of problem is hatred and not liking stuff, aversion to stuff. Like, you know, you could say, well, I really do not like mosquitoes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray pesticides so I get rid of mosquitoes. I'm going to drain all the wetlands and get rid of all the puddles so there's no mosquitoes, because mosquitoes are horrible, nasty things. Just imagine because I often hear people saying, oh, I really like nature, but I can't stand mosquitoes and spiders and centipedes and slugs and snakes. Well, imagine if you did get rid of all the mosquitoes in the world. Because mosquitoes, not only can they bite you, they can actually pass on diseases. So, it's kind of, malaria, dengue fever, etc., etc. So you can understand why people might say, let's get rid of all the mosquitoes. But imagine the consequences. I'm going to let you think about what the consequence would be. But just think about food chains, just for a start. So, hating stuff. I don't like mosquitoes, I want to get rid of it. Think of something else. Think about, I don't care. That's another attitude that's a problem at the moment. I don't care. I don't care about meadows. I don't care about forests. I don't care about mosquitoes. I don't care. I'm not interested. It's nothing to do with me. That's also a big problem, because it is to do with you. So a lot of people at the beginning of this lockdown virus thing, it's like, I don't care, it's happening in China. That's nothing to do with me. Well, it is. We're all interconnected. And when it comes to ecosystems and ecology, we learn through science how connected we are. And like I keep saying, a meadow like this is a source of inspiration. Not just knowing about the science, but inspiring you to be creative. So maybe how would you paint it? What kind of music? How would you imagine if you could represent each of these colors with a particular wavelength and a particular tone? If you could do that, you could transcribe this musically and make it, like I've mentioned before, a symphony for this meadow. Or how would you write about it? How would you describe it in words? What kind of stories would this meadow inspire you to create? Or what about, the stories that in the history, like I mentioned before, meadows are a place where there's been a lot of warfare. Meadows, like the battlefield happen in places like this. Meadows are a place where you have picnics. Meadows are also a place where people were romantic. In traditional societies where you couldn't, choose who you liked or you didn't, whether you were a boy that liked a girl or a girl that liked a boy or a girl that liked a girl or a boy that liked a boy or a boy that liked something, I don't know, whatever it is you like. In a meadow, especially when the grass is a bit longer, if you go into a meadow and you lie down to have a kiss and a cuddle with your friend, no one can see you because the grass is long. Now they've got drones and stuff, but in the past, you could be really close to your community, but hidden in the meadow, having a kiss and a cuddle. So meadows are places of romance, right? So roll in the hay in English. In Italy, they talk about going to the woods if you want to be romantic. So meadows are to do with our human life. Even if there's no meadow where you are, you've probably got a lawn if you've got a garden, or you've got a park nearby. That's a meadow. That's managed. So think about these things. It's not just that we're destroying the world because of what other people are doing. The world is getting destroyed and damaged because of our greed, because of our ignorance, and because of our anger and hatred. Anyway, take it easy and look at the meadow wherever you guys are, or the grass. Beautiful. Bye-bye.